We got some updates on Diddy. Let's see what's going on with Sean Diddy Combs. So there's a couple updates when it comes to Diddy. Not only is his indictment being updated and he's looking at some additional charges, we're coming to find out there might be some more victims as well. So again, shout out to Megan Coonan for reporting on this. She's actually got the document and gives a little bit of insight into what's going on here behind the scenes. What does she say? New from the judge in Sean Diddy Combs' criminal case, prosecutors must give his lawyers the names of the two additional alleged victims by March 10th, 11 days earlier than he planned. Disclosure is for attorneys' eyes only. So we're not going to know about that anytime soon. What do they say? This is the United States of America versus Sean Combs. We've got Arun, I'm going to mess it up, is the judge. Shout out to the judge. We'll just say Judge A. Combs asked for the identities of the anonymized victims and witnesses identified in the government's RICO enterprise letter, reprising and expanding his October 2024 motion for a bill of particulars for the victims' names. The government doesn't oppose disclosure of this information. It makes clear that it plans to turn this information over to Combs on March 21st of 2025. The date on the schedule for the government's disclosure of the 3,500 material under an attorney eyes only designation. Because this dispute is narrowed to whatever disclosure should happen now or in a couple of weeks, the interests that would normally counsel against immediate disclosures have been abated. The government has the information, doesn't identify any logical issues in turning it over earlier, and in fact plans to do so shortly, minimizing any concerns about witness tampering and the like based on advanced disclosure. On the other hand, Combs emphasizes that there is a tremendous volume of information that has and will be produced, and every day counts for preparation with trial 2 months away, which we'll be covering. This is going to be hard because it's not going to be televised, but we'll still be talking about it here. For these reasons and balancing the parties' interests, the court grants the motion and orders the government to provide the requested information under an attorney eyes only designation on or before March 10th, 2025, which is 3 days away. The clerk of court is respectfully requested to terminate 36, so ordered by Judge A, because I'm going to mess up your name. Also, from document things, what do we have? So we've actually got the full document here, and we're going to go through it, see what's updated, what counts were changed on this as well, because they say the U.S. versus Diddy case just got interesting. New charges just dropped today. We have count 1, racketeering conspiracy. Count 2, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. And then count 3, we have transportation to engage in prostitution. So if y'all are ready, we've got the document here, the updated document. And again, shout out to Document Things over on X, Document Tings. Let me say it the right way. What do we have here? The grand jury charges in the United States versus Diddy. Count 1, racketeering conspiracy. We know this very well here on this channel. For decades, Diddy, the defendant, abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his desires. I won't say that word. Protect his reputation and conceal his conduct. To do so, Diddy relied on employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Diddy operated his business headquarters at various times in Manhattan and Los Angeles under a variety of United States-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global. UMG was mentioned initially at certain points, but I think I'm not looking at this indictment. Actually, I'm thinking of a couple of lawsuits. So strike that. Not in this indictment. UMG was mentioned in the lawsuits in a similar way. Corporate entities in the Combs business included, among other things, record labels, a record studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business. Shout out to Ciroc. a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. At all times relevant to this indictment, Sean Combs, Diddy, engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As a part of his pattern of abuse, Diddy manipulated women to participate in orchestrated performances of intercourse with Diddy, and at times with Diddy and male commercial workers. At times, Diddy and others acting at his discretion made arrangements for women and the workers to fly to Combs' location. We heard a lawsuit recently about the gentleman who said he was flying to LA. He was flown to New York and several places. He was locked in a room, and Diddy told him, do what you have to do, put on the baby oil, and if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. This man said he was afraid for his life. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, filming it, leveraging his financial support, and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. Physical abuse by Diddy was recurrent and widely known. On numerous occasions from at least in or about 2009 and continuing for years, Diddy assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. They got the script from the Cassie video. You can see all of these things in the Cassie video, which she's going to be victim number one. She's going to be the key and star witness in this case. Diddy's violence was also not limited to these women. It extended to his employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. On one occasion, at a Los Angeles motel in or about March 2016, which was captured on video, here we go, and later publicly reported, Diddy kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. When a member of the hotel security staff intervened, Diddy attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. Come on, man. Subsequently, Diddy, with the assistance of several close associates, paid hotel security staff $100,000. Dang. For the hotel surveillance footage of the assault. Diddy used the Combs business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his actions of violence, abuse, and commercial sex. Those employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors and other close associates, acted as Combs intermediaries, and their conduct was facilitated and assisted by Diddy control of the Combs business. From at least in or about 2004 through in or about 2024, Diddy and others, known and unknown, were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise. This is where RICO comes in. Or the Enterprise is going to be known as. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, trafficking, forced labor, interstate participation for the purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotic offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. Good Lord. The Combs Enterprise, including its leadership, its members, and its associates, constituted an enterprise. And as defined by Title 18, the U.S. States Code, Section 1961-4, that is a group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. The Combs Enterprise consisted of Diddy and entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment. Y'all know what it is. The Combs Enterprise consisted an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objectives of Combs Enterprise. The Combs Enterprise was engaged in and its activities affected interstate and foreign commerce. The Combs Enterprise operated in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. At all times relevant to this indictment, Diddy was the leader of the Combs Enterprise. So he's a mob boss. This is so bad. The others, known and unknown, participated in lawful and unlawful, and other activities related to the conduct of the Combs Enterprise affairs. These individuals included certain Combs business employees, such as members of Combs security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, as well as other close associates of Combs. What was the purpose of the Combs Enterprise? Operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, including, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power, reputation, and brand of Diddy. Of course. Enriching members and associates of the enterprise. It's interesting that Diddy's the only one named in this indictment, though. There's going to be a lot of people testifying against this man. I hope his defense is ready. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of the Combs Enterprise, including the power of its leader, Diddy, through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Fulfilling Diddy's desires, enabling Diddy and other members. Securing absolute loyalty from members of the Combs Enterprise, including through acts of violence and threats. Protecting the Combs Enterprise and its members and associates, including Diddy, from detection and prosecution by law enforcement authorities through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, and threats of retaliation against individuals who witnessed the crimes committed by members and associates of the enterprise. Means and methods of the enterprise. We're going to skip through some of that. And then they actually talk about victims 1, 2, and 3. This is where we have a little bit of an update here. Victim 1, we know that's going to be Cassie. Victims 2 and 3, I have an idea of who I think they are. I'm not going to speculate here. Y'all could go back and watch some of the other videos we covered on Diddy where we talked about some of the lawsuits he was facing. I think victim 2 and 3 are most likely two of the women that have a pretty solid lawsuit against Diddy. All right, so we'll skip through this part. Let's go down to, they talk about the freak off. I'm tired of hearing about freak offs, I'm going to be honest. Members and associates of Combs Enterprise enable Combs control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing or suppressing the victim's career opportunities, and acquiring the controlled substances Diddy used to keep the victims compliant, the baby oil. And we heard in the last lawsuit, one of the men who was hired by Diddy to do certain things, he said once he put the baby oil on, he felt weird. He felt like he didn't have control of his body and he had to do whatever Diddy was saying. Here's the racketeering conspiracy. From at least in or about 2004 through in or about 2024, the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Diddy and others known and unknown being persons employed by and associated with the Combs Enterprise, described in paragraph 6 through 12 of this indictment, an enterprise engaged in and the activities of which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, and they knowingly combined, conspired, and confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate the racketeering laws of the United States, to wit, Title 18 United States Code, Section 1962. So there's Rico, y'all. Y'all been looking for him. He's over there chilling with Diddy in New York. Multiple acts involving kidnapping, chargeable under the following provisions of the state law. Multiple acts involving arson, chargeable under the following provisions of state law. I'm sure this has something to do with Kid Cudi's car being blown up. I can imagine that we'll see Kid Cudi as a witness in this case. Multiple acts of bribery, chargeable under the following provisions. We've got acts and we've got other acts here. We've got other acts under Title 18. We've got more acts. They've got, this one's forced labor. This one's tampering with a witness. We've got aiding and abetting. We've got trafficking. We've got transportation and inducement to travel for purposes of prostitution and other illegal activities. Lord. multiple offenses involving the possession with intent to distribute or distribute of narcotics and controlled substances. We got drugs in here. It was a part of the conspiracy that Diddy, the defendant, agreed that a conspirator would commit at least 2 acts of racketeering activity in the conduct of the affairs of the Comb Enterprises. Note of special sentencing factor. We're not going to get into that. What do we have for count 2? Trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. This has to do with victim 1. Okay. From at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2018 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Diddy, in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, provided, obtained, asserted, maintained, partitioned, or patronized, and solicited by any means a person knowing and in reckless regard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion as described by Title 18 of the United States. This is the longest sentence in the history of sentences. And any combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in commercial acts and attempted and aided and abetted and willfully caused the same. To wit, Diddy recruited, enticed, harbored, transported, and maintained victim 1 and attempted and aided and abetted and willfully caused victim 1 to engage in commercial acts knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that victim 1 was engaging in commercial acts as a result of force, fraud, and coercion. That was one sentence. That is the longest sentence I've seen in my life. For real. One sentence is a whole paragraph. Good Lord. Transportation, count 3. Transportation to engage in prostitution. I'm sure this has something to do with the other 2 victims. And then we have the forfeiture allegations. We're not worried about that. Diddy, it's a part of the game, man. I'm sorry. Substitute asset provision. If any of the above describe forfeitable property as a result of any act or omission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposed with a third person, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, has been substantially diminished in value, has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty. It is the intent of the United States pursuant to Title 18 and Title 28 to seek forfeiture of any other property to the defendant up to the value of the above forfeitable property. So they taking all his stuff. Dang. And this was signed by the acting United States attorney. We got Matthew. I'm going to mess up Matthew P in here. What do y'all think about this, man? We got another 2 more victims in this case. And it seems like they were mainly involved in, or there were issues with the prostitution and the trafficking. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment in the chat. It's going to be tough for Diddy.